Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Black Clover episode 16. And I'm not gonna lie, this episode was a bit of a mixed bag. Like, there were definitely moments that were slow and boring, but then there was also there was some really epic moments as well. So it was very much a mixed bag. Where there's some good stuff and some boring stuff. So I guess I guess it's one of those episodes you just gotta feel which one outweighs which, the boring stuff or the or the or the exciting stuff. To but to get into it, I gotta say that ending was one hell of a way to set up for the next episode, especially showcasing that this Ice Mage guy isn't one you want to fuck around with. In fact, just from what we've seen, he's already looking to be more powerful than Lotus. But I gotta ask, what the hell happened to Yuno? Because from the looks of what happened, it seems that guy's giant sword, giant ice sword or something, actually negated Yuno's magic and might even drained him. But like it's like it in a way it's one of those things where the dude is, if that's what he did, then wow, he really is powerful, and I like because it makes for good fights. It's not gonna be as one sided as that. Which I guess you could argue that even though Lotus was a bit of a threat, I think we can say now that this guy is actually the main villain. Like Lotus, I think even though he was in charge, I think he was just like a second rate thug, but. This guy's the real threat to worry about, so we'll see where this takes us. Um, and even more than that, we get Luck's backstory in this episode, and yeah, it's pretty fucked up. I mean, getting constantly abused by his own mother just for smiling, and only after beating up a noble, does she pretty much start praising him and loving him, is like, really, lady? Really? You're that fucking shallow? Like, holy frick, you should not have been a mother at all. And 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 it's one of those things where his backstory, yeah, on the surface, this could be seen as any standard shonen backstory, but from but I think when you look at it a certain way, at its core, you could argue Luck's backstory, like pretty much a lot of anime and manga, mirrors a lot of real life abusive relationships, just with the added possibility of the son killing the mother. Like, yeah, seriously, seriously, like, it was only hinted and alluded to in part of that, but yeah, Luck might have very well killed his mother, which makes me think, damn, like it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be surprised if that was in fact the case, but if that was in fact the case, because well, he it looked like it looked like he the setup for the scenario looked like he really did it. So yeah, if he did, I wouldn't be surprised. Uh, and and on top of that, like, okay, with the fight itself, with basically Luck fighting Lotus, I will say we never got an explanation behind how Luck got out of his paralysis, but I will say the more I thought about it after the last review, the more you could very easily make the argument that he jolted himself out of it using his he jolted himself out of the whole paralysis by pretty much using his magic. So he was using lightning to in order to get out of his paralysis, which you'd think would actually be a bit of a you'd think would actually be a bit of a would be a bit of a counterproductive thing. But I guess if you factor in, like, if the jolt goes to your brain, it would charge all of your senses. So yeah. Um. Now, having said that, I can see people still questioning the power up itself, and like how he managed to, like, how he managed to get even more powerful. And yeah, that part is definitely a little iffy. Is a little even more iffier, but even I think what we can take away from that, even more importantly, beyond the power up, is what happens after luck powers up, which is that honestly, luck's power up didn't do a thing. It didn't change a thing. Yeah, weird to say, but luck luck powering up to try and beat Lotus didn't do a damn thing. Which I'm pretty much all for, because if this were Fairy Tail, Luck would have immediately trashed Lotus after getting his power up, but he didn't. He would have trashed and one shot at Lotus, but he didn't. Instead, he just ended up getting captured again, leaving Asta to save him, which is one of those things where you could argue it was pretty much one it was one of those things where you trade up one bad situation for one where you trade up one bad thing for another bad thing. But honestly, like, it's like this. It's basically ver- overpowered characters versus overpowered characters versus basically it's a debate of overpowered characters versus shonen versus a lot of shonen cliches. And honestly, I'll take the shonen cliches over the overpowered characters. And but yeah, that is one thing I guess you could argue. That is one thing we could definitely say is bad about this episode, is that this episode was riddled with tons of shonen cliches. But again, if you had to make me choose, I'll take the shonen cliches over the overpowered characters any day. But yeah, and once again, I gotta say it. I really like how this series is keeping the fights within the narrative of teamwork, like being used to defeat the villain, because it was showcasing here again with Lotus's defeat only being possible by Luck luring him into the path of Asta's sword. Now, granted, I would have liked it if Luck was actually the one to do it, but if Luck was the one to deliver the final blow rather than Asta, since he was more or less the main focus of the episode. But yeah, what can you do? And I know there are people who are going to call the show out on Asta doing what I said previously of one-shotting Lotus, but remember, Lotus himself said that that basically using that whole smoke chain technique, it did greatly weaken him. So it does make sense in this sense where, yeah, where he would get one shotted because he pretty much he already knowingly weakened himself. So in that sense, I can't really get too mad at it. Now, if you want to argue that they could have animated his expression a little better to mirror in order to mirror his weakened state, then yeah, I won't argue with that. That definitely could have been just showing him weakened, just showing him a little better, like of showing his a weakened expression or something. Yeah, I think that could have been done a little better, but yeah. But it's one of those things that what can you do, right? Um, Speaking about art and animation, let's talk about that, because honestly, I don't know if the budget was cut or they were under time constraints or what the fuck happened, but both the art and animation in this episode were poor shit quality. Like, okay, it wasn't shit quality, but it was very bad quality. Like like this week to the point, like, it was poor quality this week to the point where just the movements of the characters alone felt like the movements of the characters felt very rigid, and it didn't it felt like I was watching like some kind of a flash. It felt like I was watching felt like I was watching a flash something like that, flash game or flash movie or something. But yeah, it was flash quality this week. And in fact, the only character who seemed to be have decent art and animation was again Locke. Like, his animation movements and his character model were for the most part for the most part pretty on point. But everyone else just looked looked both off. There were several times where everyone else looked off in their designs and movements. It wasn't all the time, but it was definitely a noticeable amount of times where I could say, "Ew, that really could have been done better." But yeah, it's but yeah, so yeah, like I said, guys, this episode this week, it was. That's all I have for this episode. It was a pretty mixed bag episode again. There are definitely some things that were bad, other things that were okay, I'd say. Although the art and animation quality is the one thing you will have to get over. But yeah, guys, what do you think about this episode? Just leave it down in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Death Night of Anime. Signing off. Later, guys.